Welcome Strategy Gamers to Headquarters World War II. My name is Daz Tactic. Welcome to the channel and welcome to this fairly intricate but one-off video where we're going to be doing a deep dive into this pretty amazing game. Actually, there's a lot to like about what this game delivers and a lot to like about what's going to be coming for the game as well. I want to thank Slytherin for sponsoring this content. This is going to be the launch week of the Battle of the Bulge DLC, the Ardennes campaign for the game. So we're going to be sort of looking at that as well. We're going to be looking at the base game, the Market Garden DLC as well, and of course this coming DLC. What it all means in terms of if you're playing the campaigns, what it means if you're going to be playing the skirmish mode, etc, etc, etc. Now in this presentation I'm going to be going through what I like about the game, of course, but also things that I hope are sort of addressed in the game as well. So I'll go through some of the areas that I think could be improved. I like to do that because what it does do is that when you look at this, the most important thing for me is for you to be able to make your own decision as to, yes, this is a sort of game I want to be playing, or no, it's not the right sort of game for me. So I think it's best for everyone if I just sort of go through the pros and the cons as I see them with a game, because what may be something that I don't like about a particular game may not be a problem for you. You know, like for example, I love procedural content, but I know that a lot of people just don't. This game actually is great because it's got the best of both worlds. You've got procedural and you also have curated maps, which I'll go through in detail. So we'll be covering also the roadmap for the game. The game is actually just come, it's not quite a year old. So it's kind of coming, there's been a lot of content, a lot of additions made to the game over the previous 10 months. And we've got a roadmap now ahead for the next 12 months. So we can sort of see what's going to be coming. And one of the biggest, I think, failings in the game, or things that sort of would probably be a bit of a, something that you'd be wanting in the game, is in the roadmap, but it does come towards the end of the year, and that is workshop support. Because this game has such an easy editor, you can make the maps very, very easily in this particular game. I think that the game in its future will be able to do more with that, and actually, and of course with having workshop, will then allow people to then start to share their creations, which I think is awesome. And as we are doing a deep dive into the game, one thing I will be focusing on here is also the editor back over through here. I won't start there, but I will actually go and cover that in detail, just so you can sort of see how easy it is to actually curate the actual maps and how that then works in with the excellent skirmish mode in the game itself. I do have some problems with the skirmish mode. I'll just quickly rattle it off now, but I'll sort of talk about that when we get there. The skirmish mode, if I just go and click on it as an example, and just go and choose any of these and just go and start the game. Hang on, before I do that, I'll just go and I'll choose Germany, just so that, because I know exactly where it is in Germany. The one little issue that I have in skirmish mode is that it's too easy using bombardment to actually sort of get what you need to be doing. Now, you'll also notice that this is actually, it does have like a time cycle. So this happens to be sort of like something that's being fought in nighttime, which is not going to be easy to see, so I won't be playing that one. But if we just go across and just very, very briefly, I'll come and do more detail with this one. When you go to towed guns, there is actually this gun here, which does bombardment damage, has got a range of 20, and every faction has got one of these. They do a lot of damage to high explosive and also to armor piercing attacks, and so these can be absolutely debilitating if you actually end up with numbers of these. And at the moment, it would be great if there was a limit on how many of these you could get. Like I would say 2 or 3 or whatever else it might actually be, because these, once you've got 3 or 4 of these, it's game over essentially, because you can actually hit things very, very effectively from long range once you see them. So you can actually just use these towards the back of your forces. That's just a minor thing, but it's sort of one of those little things that I'm hoping at one point gets fixed up. And I know that they're fixing up a lot of the way that the AI plays the game, but also the overall balance of the game. We'll go through the roadmap maybe at the end of this as well, just so you can sort of see what's actually coming. Anyway, let's but it's that bombardment at range 20 with a fairly high accuracy and then a lot of damage. That combination with 2 shots for every turn that you actually do, 2 attacks coming in, is really, really strong. And so for me, this is a bit of a, like, this is the easiest way to play skirmish mode, is to get 3 or 4 of those and have them sitting at the back just doing all the damage. Anyway, let's. So I'm sure that would be can be fixed at some point. But they're the. Now, I had three things that I wanted to sort of talk about as being what I consider problems in the game. I'm starting off that way. I probably shouldn't have done that. So, workshop is coming. The skirmish mode is being looked at, so that's these sorts of little issues will be fixed up. And then I've got another one. I think it may just be that with the skirmish setups, some of these aren't all that intuitive to understand. Again, an easy fix, really, I think, just with a little bit of explanation about how things actually sort of then do work. Right, well, let's get back into the actual presentation about what the game has got. And as I say, this is going to be a deep dive. I'm going to be giving tips on how to play, how to approach different scenarios. We may start off with one of the new scenarios and just sort of go through what to look for and how things actually do work. In fact, we might even start there, I think. That way we can talk about the campaigns and then specifically the Ardennes or the Battle of the Bulge campaigns. Right, so we start off with the base game. So the Battle for Normandy is the base game for Headquarters World War II. So just to quickly, another thing that I will just sort of mention, because I know that some people really like to play on the Eastern Front. This is not the Eastern Front at all. This is not North Africa. This is not Sicily or Italy. This is purely from the Normandy landings and then through towards Germany at this point in time. Now, will they bring in Soviets at some stage? I've got no idea. I'm assuming not in this iteration. I would assume that would be a fairly major undertaking to bring something like the Soviets in. So I've got no idea, but I'm assuming that that's not going to be one of the coming DLCs. I may be wrong. Who knows? Anyway, Battle for Normandy is where the game actually does start. And you've got 3 different campaigns in here. We can play either as the United States, the United Kingdom, or as Germany. So you have these 3 different perspectives. And so they actually have, so in this case, the United States has the Omaha Beach landings. And so there's 9 different missions to be played in this particular mode. Now, the difference between this and skirmish mode is that these are curated missions. These have got trigger points through the actual map itself, where once you actually reach a certain location, it will then bring in a different type of, like it might be a different attack or some sort of different scenario. There'll be a change to the scenario based on what you do on the map itself. Now, a lot of games are built this way, where that is the core of what the game actually is. And so, and in this case, these maps take that model. Skirmish mode doesn't. Skirmish mode is very much the AI plays along with you and has to think its way through at the same level as you. But these more puzzle type maps are curated, and which means that they do actually have puzzle components, which means you get a lot of replay value, because quite often you'll need to play the same map over and over and over to sort of really figure out the best way through. So there is a replay value there. My personal preference is to play the procedural maps in skirmish mode, but I know that a lot of people, probably the majority of people, prefer these curated maps where it's actually been well thought out and different things will happen in different locations. So we'll start off by playing one of the newer ones. And so you've got in through here all sorts of different missions. You'll notice that it's pretty much the maps are not big. This is a squad-based game. It's not actually a divisional or brigade type war game. This is very much an entry-level type war game based on squad level mechanics, and it works very, very well, I've got to say, in the way it sort of does work. It also uses tiles and not hexes, and so we'll go through how that appears in the actual game itself. And so there's, once you've actually done the first mission, you can then unlock the second, and so on and so forth, all the way through until you get the Battle for Brest back in through there. United Kingdom has their own set of different types of missions. In this case, we've got glider landings coming back in through here, and so this is Operation Coup de Main, and then so on and so forth through the various missions in through there. Then we actually have the German campaign, is more of the defensive campaign. Essentially, we're still looking at the same landing there. Is it the same? It's not the same map. It's a different map in through that side through there, where you essentially are now just doing the Allied invasion. You're managing a retreat to Caen, the Battle of Villers-Bocage, back in through this other side, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of different content in here, which is curated content. So you can sort of go and play those. Then the first DLC came out some months ago, which is Operation Market Garden. And what this one did is it introduced the United Kingdom with 8 more missions for what they could then go and play. What it also did was introduce, I think it was 10 different units into the actual game itself. And so those 10 units were then split between the 3 different forces. So you've got extra German units, you've got UK units, which received the majority of those type of units, and then you've actually also got some that were also then added in for the US. And the reason that that's important is that these then became available in skirmish mode. So the units that came in are skirmish mode equivalents as well. So you can actually then sort of go and play with it. That's why, even though we don't have a US way of playing this, we still have US units being added in just to maintain balance if you are playing skirmish mode. You'll notice I talk a lot about skirmish mode. I absolutely love it, and that's really my main focus when I do play the game. And now I've got the Battle of the Bulge, which is coming out at time of recording this coming week. I've got a preview version of this, and we're going to be having a look at this when we sort of start to actually play the game. I'll try to give you some tips on how to approach the game as well, and then we'll have a look at skirmish mode, and we'll just go through how you might want to approach that as well, and what to look for, particularly with the actual maps themselves. And so the Battle of the Bulge has got 8 German, like this is the Battle of Au, Breakthrough at Antler, etc. So they've got 8 different missions inside their campaign. So, and then we've got again another 8 from the US side in through here as well. And so this is sort of like the German attack into the Ardennes, and then we've got the United States response in there as well. So these are completely different campaigns that you then sort of track your way through as you then sort of start to play the actual missions themselves. So we might start with one of these, I think, and at least then go through with some gameplay, what the game does introduce. What the Battle of the Bulge DLC adds in is 12 different units, again mainly split between German and the US forces, with some British. So again, it sort of balances out the additions that the Market Garden DLC sort of added for the British, but again keeping a balance across all the different forces. For skirmish mode, the forces are very, very well balanced. So just be aware of that as well. You're not going to end up with sort of like a massively overpowered faction in the actual game itself. So it really does play well from all sides. So let's go and play with as the United States, and the only one we can actually do is to start off with the reconnaissance at Marteling, and through here, I'm not sure how you pronounce that one. Marteling, I'm not sure. Anyway, I'll always screw these sorts of names up. And if we just go and launch this. So this is the difficulty selection, and what this one does is essentially storytelling is you just end up with your accuracy and your damage goes way up, and the enemy accuracy and enemy damage comes down. So this is essentially if you're just really wanting to see what the game does, have a bit of a play with it, that's not a problem. Reasonable, you've got 120s in through there, they've got 80. Challenging is 100% all the way through. Insurmountable is going back where you've got 100%, they've got 120. And then custom, you can then go and change the actual settings yourself and change these up to 200. So you've got from 200 down to 50, I think it is, to sort of be able to change, so 200 to 50. So you can sort of change these, chop and change these to suit how you want to tweak the gameplay. And again, that can be very, very important if you're finding that you're really struggling with one aspect of the game. Like for example, if you are locating things very, very well through your recon abilities, and that's actually, there's a lot of the aspects of the game, by the way. It's a simple game to play, hard game to master. It really is in that sort of category. But if you're finding that you're doing very, very well with recon, but you're just not actually sort of you're not getting the shots in that you require, you may want to up your accuracy or something like that, just to sort of keep on making sure that you can make good use of that. But anyway, look, that's entirely up to you. I just keep it on challenging, which just keeps it at 100% all the way through. Okay, let's go across and just click on OK. And so the game then loads in.
Hope you boys weren't enjoying your rest too much.
Oh, that was the third thing. I was trying to think of the third thing that I thought needed to be improved. I'll just skip past all of this. It's giving you information, but we can get that information anyway. The third thing that I do hope that they change is to get German-sounding voices in the game. At the moment, they're using British voices for the Germans as well as for the Brits, and I just think it would be good to have them separate, so that there was actually so it felt a bit more immersive. That's the third of those little things I was thinking in my head. What am I missing? What's that one other thing that I hope that does change? Is that when you're playing as a German, it's a little bit off-putting actually just having British voices. Okay, so let's just go through how to play the game, the way it sort of works, and so on and so forth. We're coming in with a very, very small force initially back in through here. So we've essentially got 3 vehicles is all we're sort of seeing through that side. Map commands, I've got WASD to move around the map itself. I've got the Q and E to be able to rotate around. I'll just try to get it to a better angle. With the actual forces themselves, I can then sort of come back through, and if you're trying to sort of figure out, you can actually push the middle mouse button to have a bit of a look around to see what's actually where. It will then sort of zip back into that particular mode. Hang on, it's now not doing it. I'll just zoom back in again. There we go. If I zoom in again, I can sort of have a bit of a look. Now, we've got a few different things. There's a victory point over there that the Germans control, and that's the only one that we're really looking at in this instance. So, but Q and E, I think, are fairly easy to play. If you have a unit selected, like if I'm looking over here at the Germans have, so this church, the Germans actually do have a location back over there. If I need to go back to my Greyhound, which is like my scout vehicle, I can just go and click on it and press space, and it will then go back to that vehicle. So that's just, so it's fairly easy to navigate your way around the actual game itself. Now, you may want to be playing with the tiles turned on. You can sort of see that I've now got a tile system on the map itself, so we can sort of see where the actual tiles are. I find it easy enough to play without that, so I'll just turn that off. We can see what can happen anyway. So the Greyhound has then got movement where it can sort of then go and move through right up into this point in through here. Now, it's a game where you can keep on just doing little dribs and drabs to your movement, so don't feel that you have to just move in one great big slice. You can just try to go and get a little bit more back in. Now, one of the other things that I do actually have selected is, if I just left click, just so I don't have it selected so I don't accidentally do anything, is I've got Fog of War turned on. And so you'll notice that we're seeing the trees here as green, but we're then seeing these in grey. And that's just showing me that I don't have a vision into here. So if you're wanting to turn that one on, I said we're going to do a deep dive. We do actually have Fog of War is, if I just go back into the menu systems and then go back into into here, actually, I can sort of have a look. The Fog of War is enabled. And so what that does, if I disable that, it doesn't show, sorry, if I just go back this way, all it's going to do is it's still going to be Fog of War, meaning that we can't get to see the units, but the map itself will now look pure and we won't see the Fog of War. If I go back and turn that one on again, press escape, Fog of War enabled, just enable that one through there, and now we don't get to see quite as much detail because we're not able to actually see that far in. So that's sort of like just moving your way around the actual map itself. It's an I go you go game, which means that we get to move all of our forces and do everything we need to do, and then the enemy will get their chance to move. So we need to do everything we can in that particular point. Now we have 40 turns left back in through this other side. We also have some abilities, and it's very, very important that you understand what these abilities actually are. And so these can be different depending on the scenario that you're playing. In this case, we've got a rally. So this one restores morale. And there's a two-turn cooldown for that one. So we can use it every 2 turns, essentially, or every 3 turns. We have reinforcement. This is a really important one. So ready to use, again, 3-turn cooldown. The skill, this skill fully restores the chosen unit's crew. So a crew is any particular entity, whether it be a vehicle or a group of infantry or whatever else it might actually be. We also then have a smoke screen ready to use. So this skill covers a target area with a smoke screen. That's going to mask our way into the actual game itself. And then we actually have artillery bombardment. This is not the same problem with the bombardment that I had with the on-field artillery that we can sort of buy in skirmish mode. This is actually called for a long-range artillery strike at the selected area, 60 accuracy, 40 high explosive attack, and 30 armor-piercing attack. So it's nowhere near as powerful as what we saw with those 155 millimeter. I think it was 150. Anyway, the 155's bombardment guns from the German side. And one of the other things that the Battle of the Bulge DLC is going to add in is the snow terrain to the game. So you're going to have that available as well. I haven't seen it in skirmish mode yet. I haven't really looked for it, but I think that now will be available for people to be able to put into their own maps of the actual game itself. Let's just move around again, so we're sort of looking at it from the different angles. Now, the other thing, you really need to know what your forces do and what they do well, what their skills are, etc., etc. And so don't wait until you're in the middle of a fight to try to figure out who should be doing what. Try to get an understanding of that fairly early on. Now, the skirmish mode is great for that because it presents everything for you to be able to have a look at. But having said that, it's also great to be able to just come straight through and play with limited forces, so you get a feel for how to play the game. In this case, we've got a Greyhound. This is an M8 Greyhound. You see when I hover over it, it's got a little M8 appears at the top of the screen. The M8 Greyhound. To find out about that one, when we hover over it, all we do is press the I key, and it will then show. If I select it and press the I key, it will then show up. Sorry, I forgot to select it, and I'll just hover over it. And so this is the Greyhound. I can maneuver this one around if I'm wanting to, sort of zoom in, have a bit of a look back at it. The interesting thing with vehicles is that they actually have a front armor, and then they've got this is a hard defense. Essentially, if this one here, the armor piercing attack, is used here. But depending on where the shot comes from in the game, you do actually have frontage. So front armor is 20, side armor is 10, and then we've got the back armor is 10. If we had an actual proper turret, then we'd have a top armor as well. That's 0. So we're susceptible to being hit from height. So if there's something that's a higher height than us, we're going to suffer badly in that sort of capacity. We've got we can customize this as well. Actually, I'll come back to the customization in just a minute. This is then sort of showing it's got a rotating turret on top. So we can still come in and front a threat and get the better armor towards the front, and then still rotate the turret to shoot at different other angles. So we don't have to rotate the whole vehicle around to be able to shoot. We then actually have other specific skills to the type of vehicle that we actually have. This is light, so this unit can drive through light objects and obstacles. So it can't drive through buildings, but it can drive through fences. It can clear wrecks, and most vehicles can do this, whereas if there's a wreck in the middle of the road, it can obscure line of sight, but vehicles can sort of tow them off the road and get them out of the way. It's got a tank machine gun, so the unit's high explosive attack is increased by 25 if the enemy is within 4 tiles. So again, understanding how your forces work is good. So this one likes to be within 4 tiles of infantry. The high explosive is what the infantry attack will then go and be. This one is very, very accurate, so at 120, but only does 10 high explosive damage. We get a plus 25%. Is increased by 25 that goes up to 35 essentially if we're within 4. Important to know that one. Smoke caster. This unit deploys a smoke screen that covers the targeted tile. The smoke screen blocks line of fire and reduces the accuracy of attacking in and out of the smoke screen by 50%. This can save your life in the game, so that can be fairly important. Medium profile, so the unit medium profile is average in terms of spotting. The enemies do not get a target size modifier when firing at it, so bigger tanks are easier to hit, of course, but this one has got very, very weak armor. It's a good scout, so this one here has got a cooldown of 1 turn, activation cost 1 attack, and it's got a radius of 3 tiles. This can go to a sort of hidden location and then scout around it to see what else is in around there. This unit identifies all enemy units within the radius, ignoring line of sight, so it doesn't have to be able to see them to then be able to locate them. Damage building. This unit deals damage to buildings, obstacles, and objects. By the way, on the map, the buildings are all destructible, so there's a lot of it's quite interesting what can happen during the course of the battle. So again, another big plus with the actual game itself. Perceptive. Any unknown enemy unit becomes identified instead, so when we see anything, we're going to at least be able to figure out what it is. Again, this is a scout vehicle. And skill, real anti-air. So this one must be part of, like, this is an advanced version of the game itself. I don't know what that is, but anyway, this one has got some sort of anti-air ability, which is got a placeholder at time of recording. As I say, the version of the game I have is not the release version. This is a pre-release sort of advanced version of the actual game itself. Now, the effects that we actually have is we've got elevated terrain. Unit gains 1 spotting, 1 camouflage for each elevation level. Additionally, if the unit attacks the enemy with a lower elevation level, the unit gains extra 5% accuracy for each level of elevation. So we like to fire, and most units will be wanting this one through here. So they will actually, having the extra abilities will actually help them. And snowfall. In snow, again, units gain 2 camouflage. So we get a little bit more camouflage. So this is the skills and effects that we actually have in play. The effects are sort of like just generic type things that are happening on the map itself. Now, what we end up having here is we have individuals here in the actual crew itself. We have a commander, and what's really fascinating about this game is if you play slowly, and I do like to play these games slowly, as you'll know if you follow my channel at all, these, depending on who actually takes damage, well, and it doesn't matter what unit it is, they all have a role in the actual, within the unit itself. And so the commander contributes 25% to the overall morale and 25% spotting to the unit. So its ability to spot will be hindered if the commander is incapacitated. We have a driver. This contributes 50% move points to the unit. We have a driver assistance, contributes 25% move points and 25% spotting to the unit. And then we actually have a gunner. This one contributes 25% accuracy to the unit. So if these are knocked out, these numbers here will then go down. Let's talk about what these things actually are. In fact, let's talk about this one here to start with. These are the parameters. So when you're in attack mode, when it's your turn to play, you have 2 different attacks that you can then go and do. And so this is all units will actually have these sort of 2 attacks generally. So you've got 2 attacks whenever you feel like it. We have movement points of 11, which is fairly high. Back through here, we have reactions. We actually have 3 different reactions. If we see units or are fired upon, we can fire back 3 times, even though the attacking unit can really only attack 2 times typically. That's sort of the way that one does work. And then this is our overall morale. And of course, we want to keep the morale fairly high. Otherwise, we're going to suffer from morale problems and potentially then sort of run away from the actual, or give up, or whatever else it might actually be. So morale is very, very important in the game. So there's a lot of detail, but it's simple to see and play. It's difficult to master, and which makes it ideal for players of all levels. This is one of these few games that is really approachable in terms of playing it, but will then actually sort of so you'll get a lot of enjoyment no matter what level you are playing this particular game. I'm trying to think of other games that actually are in this sort of category, and I really can't think of many that sort of do it this well, because the more you dive deeply into the game, the more intricate it is and the more stuff there is to sort of unfold, but you don't need to know it to have fun with the game. So anyway, but I find it's good to actually be able to do that one. Then we've got in through here, we've got the attack range of 8, which is fairly good. We have the spotting, which is very, very high at 14. And then we actually have a camouflage of 2. This one is it's a bit hard to sort of see what's going on. We have a bit of a summary about what the unit actually is. Now we have other aspects to this as well. We've got level ups. So when we actually start to get points and experience, we can then add things to our skills. So we can get elusive, accurate. So at 1 star, we can get either one of these. At 2 stars, we've got cover expert or on lookout. At 3, we've got maneuverable and sharpshooter. So these are different sorts of skills that we can then go and get at different points. And so, if the unit's attack deals at least 1 damage to the enemy, it will deal 1 extra damage, so on and so forth. So these are all different skills that we can then start to sort of get at the as we start to get the experience levels back and through here. We also can have heroes in the game, which I don't think we're going to see them in this particular mission, but these also add sort of abilities to the actual units, and these are really, really cool. And there's I think there's 6 different heroes that have been introduced in this DLC. I think there was 3 in the previous DLC, and I think the base game had 9, but I may be wrong about that, about the base game. Anyway, it's pretty cool the way it does work. And so as we get experience, you can see the experience level at the moment is 0 out of 100, so we can't level up at this point in time. So if we just go back to the info, The other thing we actually have is customization. So if I go into customize, I can change the overall look. Now we have all sorts of different things we can do through here. So I can actually go straight down, and again, this won't be important to many of you, but you can go and do it. So this one here looks like it's using this one, this camouflage here by the looks of things. If I go to a different camouflage, we also have a few that can be added in. By the way, you can add your own in. I haven't tested this, but I'm thinking that if you replace these, you can then sort of go and get other things. So if I go to that one there, it becomes all white. I can make it sort of change back to whatever I want to do. This has no bearing at all in the actual game itself. It's just purely a visual for your own enjoyment. We also then have different hues and colours and things we can then go and add in with that one through there. The tiling will then it will increase the actual shapes. If I go back to the original and then just change the tiling down, I end up with like much bigger shapes and then much smaller shapes back and through here as well, depending on how I want that to go. Again, just visual. Let's go back to that one there. It's a bit easier to sort of see other things because you can also, and I've actually added my own Daz Tactics insignia, and I haven't tested it yet, but that can then sort of go into slot 1. In fact, it didn't work. I hadn't tested it, I just had inserted it, but it didn't actually go in. So I'll just go to like the other ones. We can sort of add different things in. It had the American one. Okay, that didn't unfortunately work, but it's. I was sort of thinking it may be fun to do that one. So I just did that literally before I started recording. I thought I'll just see how easy it would be to mod it, but for whatever reason, that's not actually applying itself to it. And there should be another one somewhere else on this particular model, where there'll be a different insignia in slot 2, but I'm not sure where that actually shows up on this particular model. But again, it's quite nicely done the way that the game actually sort of handles these models. Anyway, let's just go back out and click on customize and just bring it back to the, sorry, if I go back to customize again, I will actually just go and change it and then just apply. So I'll just go and apply it. I can apply it to all. I can make presets as well if I'm wanting to, so I can actually go across to the presets through here and actually have them set up for various play. Like this is going to be US 1 would be the one that we're accessing. US 2 would be a different type of playing that one through there. If we go, let's go this way here, US 2, and apply. So we can just go to presets as pre-arranged sort of types of things. So this probably make it a little bit easier for us to see this particular vehicle anyway. And again, we actually have rename unit. We can then just go and change whatever name we want to have for it. And again, that's not important for a lot of people, but for me, playing on Twitch with live streaming, having this where I can actually name it after people that are watching is really, really cool. Actually, I really do appreciate these little extra things. Just going to apply all that, and away we go. So this is now a new look vehicle. It's still the same vehicle back and through there. We have a whole lot of different things we can do with this vehicle as well. So we've got, for example, the movement. We've got suppression as well. This action allows your unit to shoot at any tile. So even if we don't see a unit there, we can actually still try to suppress the tile. Like if we suspect that there's a group hiding in the woods or something, or in a building, we can try to suppress it. Rotation is very, very important to be able to then rotate and face the direction that where you think a threat's going to be coming. We can swap positions with another unit. Every unit, only one unit can occupy a tile. So you can't actually have multiple units in the tiles, which makes it sort of easy-ish to understand what's going on in the game itself. Moving backwards, this allows us to move backwards away from a fight, so we can sort of reverse out. This is the clear wreck if there was wrecks, and this is these are the various things we can then go and do. Scout. This one allows us to then scout within 3, and then we can use a smoke grenade as well. Then we have hold fire. This action removes the unit's overwatch for that turn if you're wanting it to sort of stay hidden or whatever else it might be. That can be important depending on the unit that you've actually got. So that's that unit. The other units we actually have is we've got 2 half tracks, and we've got 2 different types of infantry inside them. The half tracks are literally just going to be transports. And what you'll see through here is with the actual half tracks themselves, you'll notice that they actually have the forces are inside there, and then the other forces back inside here. What you'll notice with this is that there's like a little icon above it. This one's got 2 a pair of binoculars back in through that other side. That's actually what it's carrying. It's carrying a scout unit, and this one here has just got like a helmet. This one is just carrying infantry. And so that's the different types that we sort of see in through there. Now, to move, I can't move through this vehicle. I have to move around it, and it would then have to go into the snow. And so we'll talk about that as well. Actually, let's just have a quick look at these different units. These half tracks, again, with that one selected through there, just press I. We'll just get rid of this one through this other side. Don't have to really worry too much about these things in through this one. It does have tracks, so it does have a repair track ability. Only 3 units back in through this other side. 120 accuracy, so very high. 30, so good damage against infantry. Very, very poor against armour. Has a attack range of only 6, not the 8 that we saw there before. Has a spotting range of 12, not the 14 that we saw there before, but still has a camouflage there of 2. So we've got that one in through that other side. If we go back now to the infantry, like if we go to the scouts, so it's very important to know the difference between the scouts. In fact, we can see it through here if I just select them on here rather than going into it. So the scouts have got like an attack range of 5. They have this. They're in elevated terrain at the moment, and so they've got the 18 base spotting, so very, very good at spotting units. And then they have a camouflage, a very high camouflage of 7. Now these, because we're elevated, we actually even have more with those in there at this point in time. If I go back in and just press I, I'll just get the base numbers, not the extra numbers. But I do get the extra numbers back in through this other side. No good against armor piercing, so they can't really do anything else through there. In this case, they do 30 damage against other infantry. But the fact that they can be camouflaged, this is one that we probably would want to have it so that it holds fire, just because it can see what's going on. If we go to the riflemen, these have got a range of 5. They have a spotting of 16, so it's nowhere near as good as the scouts, which has got 18. And then these also are not as well camouflaged with what they do, but they do the same sort of damage with the way that they work. 5 units in through there, still 5 units back in through here with the scouts as well. And so that's really sort of how this is the only forces that we actually have, which is nice and controllable. We don't have to worry too much about what's going on. So our mission is to conduct a reconnaissance of the area. And so we'll just start to play our turn. Now, just going through again, and I'll just go through, this, as I said before, is going to be a deep dive into how to play the game and what to look for. In this case, this unit is standing in the way of these different units. Now I can swap them out, but it's going to then sort of start to chop and change things a little bit. So I can do a swap there if I needed to. But this is where we are in turn number 1. If I go to this unit here, for this one to move around, it's going to have to get back on the road. It's going to go through the snow. Now, does that matter? The way that you can tell if that's going to matter, if we go and have a look at that one, it's going to move to there, then it's going to move out to that side through there. If I hover over this unit and press the Y key, you'll notice it at the top of the map there. So press the Y key to show the extended terrain info. So just go and press Y. In this case, movement points cost to get into that position is 1. So foot is 1, tracked is 1, half track is 1, but wheeled, like the first car that we saw there, is 2. And so in that case, it would actually we don't lose anything by going around this vehicle into the snowdrift that we're sort of seeing through there. So I can bypass this one without any real problem. Again, it can be important to know what's going on through there. So in different terrain, we'll actually have different, as I go into this terrain, that's the forest in through there. On foot, it costs 2. It does give us 60% extra cover, elevation of 2 at that point in time. It adds armor and camouflage to anyone that's in that particular location. So all of these things add to the basic skills. And so as we sort of are moving through, we can't move these half tracks into that sort of location. But we still need to get and start to do reconnaissance into the actual town itself. Now, because this is, so the Y can be, as I say, quite good to just get a feel. So in this case, we've actually got deep snow. The deep snow back up through this other side is hard for us to move through. In this case, it's just clear, but with snow on the ground. So clear is not a problem. Deep snow is a problem for our movement. So we can't really go onto the left side of this vehicle as we're sort of moving forward. So anyway, that's the Y key. Again, there's a lot of detail in the game if you do decide to scratch the surface. So it looks simple because it's actually just played in tiles, but there's a lot to it. So what we want to do is we want to go through and actually figure out where we're going to go with our reconnaissance. Where are we likely to find the enemy? Well, we're likely to find them in around here somewhere. They may be further afield. This is actually halfway through the map already, so this is not going to be a dramatically big one for us to play through. We do actually have the terrain. Again, if I press Y through here, nobody can move up these cliffs. We can move into the forest, but not the cliffs. So, and unless there's somebody hiding in this forest, we should be pretty clear. What I'm thinking of doing is actually trying to move the scout unit. So with that unit through there, I can actually move it down to there, or this one then becomes the heavy snow back and through that side. Deep snow, that one's high vegetation. Again, if I press Y, that one's still going to be slow moving. I can move all the way down to there with this particular vehicle, but these have got 15 at the front, 5 and 5, so these are a bit more susceptible to being hit than the Greyhound is. So let's just go across the Greyhound, select that one, and we can move a bit further in. Let's just see what actually happens if I move down to this location as an example, or even this location, just by right clicking. So we've moved down to there. This is showing where I can actually aim. So I can actually aim into these different locations if I need to. Now I'm not seeing anything there just yet. I can move across into either here or into the main area. Let's go and move even further in because we're not seeing anything here just yet. I want to give myself a little bit of maneuvering room just to be able to move back, but I'm quite liking the idea of moving my scouts into this sort of region. It may be that we actually move to here.
Recon scouting.
And we could then start to sort of get a little bit of vision down this other side. So let's just move this one into that position there.
Roger that, sir.
Now we're still not spotting anything at all, but we do actually have the ability to fire anywhere in through here, including smoke. So let's just keep it that one there, the Greyhound on its own. We'll move the scouts next. So we'll just get this half track here. And it can move down into this location.
Let's get moving.
Now the scouts aren't scouting for us. Okay, smash through there. Because it can do that. It's got the ability in its skills to be able to go through light terrain, which includes power poles. Now, with the scout, what we have through here is a drop-off. I'm going to drop these off and start to get them to sort of maneuver through the actual game itself. And so these are going to have a little bit of movement left over. So let's go and get them into this building over here. So we've gone to the extent of what this one can travel to. We have a drop-off. We can drop off into any of these points except for, we can't put it directly into there, but I can put it into here. So it's now, oh, and we got a surprise. There is actually a scout unit there.
Call it into HQ.
So,
Only a couple of them here in Monterey.
so there was actually an enemy unit right there.
Thinking what I'm thinking, boys? It's high time we show our German pals down there how we handle troublemakers in the Bronx. That bridge might
Here we
be
go.
broken
We've
in
got
half,
new things
but
now.
we gotta get the road nearby secured all the same. A quick fix-up job with our Baileys will put us back on the way to Marderlange and give us back our footing to follow with the uppercut on these Krauts.
So we now have a new objective, and we've gotten into this position here. The forces that are inside have got, these are in undercover. If I go and select these and then press I can see what they've got as well. And so these are in an exposed position. So units expose their position when attacking. Each attack decreases camouflage by -5. It's now been spotted essentially. So it's this is the effects that it's actually got. It's in elevated terrain. This building grants this unit 60% cover and additional armor. So it's already it's quite well protected by being inside this particular building. So it happened to stay there. This is what I mean also about the difference between a skirmish map and a curated map. We've actually now got into here. We've been able to, the first objective was to start scouting, which we did do, and with that scouting we ended up discovering this, which then triggered the next phase of the actual map itself. And so we've taken 1 damage here.
Ready to deploy,
Now
sir.
if we move off, we're going to be attacked. So what I need to do is I need to suppress this. Now, there's a 30% chance of me getting a 1 or 2 kills with my Greyhound. So I'm going to have a look at that one. You'll notice in the top right, there's now a more detailed view. So the Greyhound versus Scouts, and you can see it's a high explosive attack is what we're going to be using. The chance here is we've got a critical, we've got a hit, we've got a graze, and we've got a miss. And so if I get a critical hit chance, I'll do 3 damage to that particular unit. And so that will then give me the... so I'll end up essentially with... what is it? Yeah, so if I can get the critical. I can't get a critical with that particular unit because they're inside that building. In fact, if to see the C key, I can then see exactly what's actually in play here. So we've got, this is the accuracy calculation. What we actually have is we have an accuracy of 120. We've got no positive multipliers. What they've got, the negative multipliers are that we've actually moved. So we actually have a minus 30% movement penalty. They've got the cover from the building. And then we have a target profile, because they're small and infantry, of negative 20%. So when you calculate all those things together, we end up with essentially 120 times 0.7 times 0.4 times 0.8, which only means we have an accuracy of 27, which means that we've got a 10% chance of getting a hit, which will do 2 damage, a 23% chance of getting a graze, which will only do 1 damage, and 66% chance of missing it entirely. And we can see there the damage modifier calculations in through there as well. So essentially going through with a fairly complex formula based on the high explosive attack, a tank and machine gun. We get the 25 in through there again because it's within 4 range. We saw that in through that side. Then the final HE high explosive attack is 35. We saw that when we're looking at the actual Greyhound itself with its skills, because it, within 4, the machine gunner does more damage against against infantry. The enemy armor is 10. Building armor bonus is 30. So total armor there is 40, which means that we have a negative 6% chance again of doing damage because of the building that they're in. You can see the degree of complexity in the game and how things are sort of calculated, that you don't need to know to have fun with the game. So if you enjoy that, it's there. If you don't enjoy that, don't worry about it. It's just have fun with the actual game itself. Now, if we have a look at the other ones as well, we've got a 35% chance here as well to do a little bit more. Again, we have the same sort of negative multipliers, still 0 chance of getting a critical. Now, they're going to be able to, they've already had 1 reaction shot. If I just go and click on them again and have a look at the what they've done, you'll notice that they've got still got 2 reaction shots there. So we have to be a little bit careful about how we then go ahead with what they can do. They don't have any real ability to do damage against the like armor piercing damage. So I'm going to grab this one anyway, and it's just going to rotate it. In fact, if I go and do that one, it will be able to do damage back against the scouts fairly easily, but not so much against these guys. If I just go and rotate, I can then just rotate, right click, and just have them so that they do end up facing this particular unit. Let's just do the same here again as well. Just destroy that little outhouse or whatever it might have been on the side. It just means if they do retaliate, they're not going to be hitting weak parts of the actual vehicle itself. Now we still actually, oh here we go, we've got a whole heap of other forces that have now come through as well into the game. So triggering that has actually now meant that we've actually now got a whole lot of other forces that are available. So we actually have the rifleman. We could bring the rifleman down into this particular building, and there is actually a field of fire there as well from this particular unit. But we're not seeing, there's no explosives showing up. Now what I mean by that is if I go to the scout unit, I've still got 2 moves into here. If I move into any of these, see how there's like around the dot, there's like an explosive type symbol. It means that this guy can actually hit us, and we can see through there again. We have a 15% chance of getting 2 damage, a 32% chance of getting 1. So we have a fairly high chance of doing some damage to them, but not enough to really damage, like do what's coming back. The return fire though is very, very easy for them. So they've actually got a critical chance of 17% to wipe out our forces. We've got 4 more pips left. In fact, this is where we can sort of see the difference here. Killed in action, a soldier. So this unit is without a soldier. It loses 10% spotting, 20% high explosive attack and 20% armor piercing attack. So we're actually, by losing that soldier, we've lost a little bit of the abilities of the actual group itself. You can see it reflected in through here with the high explosive attack and in the spotting as well, because we've lost that unit. Isn't it incredibly great? In fact, I'm sort of in the way a little bit of what we sort of see through there. But anyway, that's what we actually have in through that other side. So we've now got the extra American units coming back in. I probably won't play the whole scenario out. I just want to sort of show you the I guess the intricacy to a degree. Now this is another of the half tracks, but without any units inside it. So this one doesn't actually have anyone. We've got 2 rifle units back out through there. I think we can actually pop them in. Yeah, we can just right click on those to actually then go and board that particular group. This one as well is another half track.
Awaiting orders.
If I move across, I could have that one move into that particular unit. I can't get out if I move in. So if I move across to there, oh, wrong one. I meant to do it this way. I meant to move that one across and then deploy. But this one I can move back in and just keep it on board. I might just leave it over here.
We got our orders.
And so now we have the ability to position ourselves to fire at this one. We've got 32% chance of either doing 1 or 2. So again, it's only light damage that can actually happen through there. We have this group as well, which will put them on board.
Awaiting orders.
And again, I can go further across here. I might move them all the way out to here. Actually, no, I'll leave them where I can get some shots in. So I'll go and position these here. You can see there that I don't get a shot. I do get a shot there and there as well. Like you can see a little red line. This is another thing you can turn on or off. So I'll just move these up just to start to put pressure on these particular forces. We also have more riflemen there. Again, it's now blocking us into this particular range. Let's just go across this way.
Transport is rolling.
And we have a tank as well. And so this is an M24 Chaffee. And again, if we have a look at the information by pressing I, you can see this is a medium tank. This can drive through medium objects and obstacles, can clear wrecks, tank machine gun again, same as what we saw there before. This one does a lot more damage though. Repair tracks, medium profile, so it's a little bit easier to hit. This one here has got 50 from the front, 15, 20, 15 on the top, if it gets hit from the top. So this is much more defendable. And it does very, very good anti-armor attacks. Not so much the high explosive, but the tank machine gun does increase it by 25 if we're within 4. It does have the ability to damage buildings. So this unit deals damage to buildings, obstacles and objects. It's got an overrun ability. This unit storms the enemy positions in an adjacent tile and occupies the opponent's tile. If the enemy unit is eliminated, if the enemy is eliminated, the attack is calculated differently and depends on the armor-piercing attack and morale of both the engaged units. And so that's sort of where we are there. And again, we've just got that. This is a slow-moving guy.
Affirmative. Tank on the move.
So that's actually all fine. What we'll do is we will just start to whittle away at this one. This one can't rotate. It just has to move everything around.
Missed.
We missed, but the morale went down by 10. So this one now is getting worse morale. So even if we don't get the damage, that one there, 32% as well. I'll just do a couple of these hits. There we go, 2 hits. That was actually a lucky one. There was only a 10% chance of actually getting that particular hit. Now that we've fired it once, we then actually have a little bit better ability. So the consecutive shots give us a positive multiplier of 10%. So if I go again, it's now down to 3. But the chance of hitting it, morale has gone down even further. We've still got this one with a consecutive shot through here, 36% chance. So we'll just keep it going. I've had a lucky shot there, I think.
Try again.
1 graze and less morale again as well. Now, if we have a look at this particular unit, we can then sort of see that its morale has now dropped to 60, and so the morale is sort of is dwindling away fairly quickly. It's now in exposed position, no overwatch, soldiers lost 3, so it can no longer fire back. Even though it had the reaction shots there, it doesn't actually have the... If I now go to this unit, I can now move safely into these positions because it's now been suppressed enough to allow me to move. So again, a little bit more complexity with what we can then go and do, but it makes sense. You know, everything we're doing is intuitive. We're down to just 2 in through here. I can offload this one, I think. Yeah, I can still actually offload this group, which could then go into and do more damage here. Let's just go and take this one all the way up.
We got our orders.
And now fire it at 35% chance.
Clipped him. Try again.
1 graze. It's down to just 1 unit. 38% chance now. It's been demoralised now. So again, it's now even worse. It's now down to 40. So it really can't do much at all. There's only 1 unit left. The commander is the only one available. What we can do now is go and get our riflemen that are on board and drop them off. And you can see I can't go into there, but I can drop them off straight into here, which means that we're occupying that part of the building. So let's just go and do that. Oh, we got Overwatch from the other side. So there's actually a group of paratroopers on the other side over there. And so we're now looking at other units. Again, I can click on them, press I, and just have a look to see what they can then go and do. They don't have any armor-piercing attacks, so we should still be safe enough with our vehicles. So we'll just go and rotate these around. Again, the facing is important for what we're doing through there. Now, if I attack them, the Overwatch from here is going to kick in. Let's just go and finish them off with this if we can.
Missed.
Missed that one.
That's a miss.
Can't do much there. We've still got this as well.
Recon's ready.
Can't reach those.
Wreck my damn aim. They've had enough.
They're now fleeing. And
Just tell us where you need us, sir.
78% chance now with this unit, because it's now out in the open. All of these have already fired.
Tell us where you need
And I
us.
can't offload these.
Fueled up and
Oh, yes, I
ready.
can. I actually can drop these off. But I'll
Awaiting
do that.
orders.
I'll drop off into this building. Oh, sorry, that is next turn. Because we actually had moved them on, we can't actually drop them off. All right, no, they are dropped off, sorry.
Rifleman awaiting
So let's go and
orders.
kill them off. And you can see there that if I move into here, that then triggers these. Now, you can still do it where you end up sort of having different units coming back different
Ready to
ways.
deploy.
We've got a 45% chance there with return fire. Let's go and move these.
sir.
Now, always just double check where you're moving into. I can move into that one there. I can't. I don't want to be moving out into the open. Let's move across this side so we can see a little bit further of what's actually going on.
Damn it. German scouts have got a beat on us. Pick off that scout car before it can relay our position. Fortunately, they shouldn't get far now that
All
we've
right,
got
so now
some
we've got
extra
even more
hands to
forces
help
coming
out.
in.
After them, boys.
I won't play any more of this because I think that you get the idea. We're seeing different things coming through. That's an M18 Hellcat. What's the difference between it and the others? We can see very, very simply through here with the differences, what they can then go and do. Again, if I just press I can then just go straight through and start to see we've got the tank machine gun. This one does even more armor-piercing attacks. And so we're getting more and more forces coming in as we start to unfold the exercise. So rather than playing out the whole mission, it at least gives you an understanding of the intricacy of the game, I guess, and also the ability of the different types of units, how things are exposed. You saw there that we ended up being surprised. I haven't played this mission at all, so I had no idea what was going to be there. But let's just say I really fail badly with these sorts of things. I then at least have a bit of an idea. Oh, there's a vehicle there. So we have this vehicle here that we have to destroy. So this is actually an unknown enemy unit, but it is facing the opposite way. And so this is one of the missions we actually have. Let's just see if we can actually get something to happen here. We may not get there in time, but we have a little track that may give us the option to do it. Let's have a look at this unit here,
Where's the enemy armor?
because that's going to be our best chance to do this. So this one here has a range of 12, and if I again push Control G, I can then put the grid on and just see we've got so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If I can get to there, I can get a shot in on that vehicle using that particular location. So somewhere in here, somewhere should give me a bit of a shot. If we have a look and see what it can move at 12. So let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we should be okay to be able to move that one around. But when we actually look at it, we can only move to there because we have to go all the way around all these different units. So what we need to do is we need to move these out of the way. Now we actually have different types of forces in through here. These are Rangers. These are a little bit better than what we saw there before. Let's go and move these guys into this vehicle,
Tell us where you
and
need
these guys into this vehicle,
Rangers reporting. Fueled up and ready.
and move this vehicle off the road.
Waiting orders.
Now I'm going to move it down towards these other locations, and there may be
Let's get moving.
anti-tank weapons that sort of target us, but we seem to be okay. Now I can move this one up. Now we do actually have, there is an attack that can come in through there, but I can move to there fairly safely,
Heading out.
that we know of anyway. So that one having moved, I now have an unknown attack in through there, but I do actually, it's within range. And so my range goes one out even further. And so we don't know what this is. We haven't located what it actually is, but we can just have a shot at it. And so we've got the negative multipliers. We've got a range multiplier. The movement that we did, unknown target, is negative 25 as well. If I can find out what that was, that would be ideal, but I don't think I can do that easily. So I've got nothing else that can really move effectively.
Ready to go.
Let's just take a pot shot just to finish this
Got
one
any
off.
tank targets for us?
We
Missed the
missed, but
target.
its morale was hit. We've got 2 hits on it.
That's a hit.
And so we don't know what it is yet, but we still got 2 hits on that particular vehicle. So it could be anything. And so this unit is in a good position here. It's only got 1 reaction shot if we do get a shot fire back at it, but this one now is in a good position to be able to look down this area. I quite like that the game is tile based, for the simple reason that the units actually do have very, very clean fields of fire rather than it being hex based. I guess many war games have got a hex base to them, but this one here, you can see the actual vision areas are very, very well defined because of the tile base in the actual game itself. Anyway, let's leave this here. You get the idea as to how things sort of work in these more curated maps, and let's go and now look at the skirmish mode and the map building. So we're just, as I said, we're doing a deep dive into the game here without actually finishing off anything, but we will actually just go through and just, it's more just to see if you guys are interested in getting the game yourself, what it has, how it works, etc., etc. Okay, so the editor is extremely easy to use, but we won't start there. There's an even easier way than using the editor. Let's go to skirmish mode and build a map using the map generator and then tweak it. So let's go through that process, and then we'll come back and then set up a skirmish map so you can sort of see how that then works as well. So map generator is going to provide different parameters for the topography, or no, not topography, topology, I think is the heights, etc. So we end up with a whole lot of different types of base terrain that we can then to go and play with. So we've got, like in this case, this is all of them. We have small maps, so we end up with things like a large hill in the center, just a big plain, a river with 3 crossings. Across the river itself. So we have sort of like these basic ones in here. This one's got a lake in the middle. Lakes and hills, etc., etc. So we have these different sorts of starting areas. These are small maps. We then have medium maps as well, and we have like largish maps as well. Let's just start with a medium in this case. And again, we've got different sorts of abilities back and through this other side. So This doesn't change, which is actually fine. Like, it's not as if it just needs to have random things. This one gives you at least a balance idea of what can actually then go and happen. So we've got 2 rivers, a hill. Actually, I'll just try I'll try to find just one river if I can. In fact, let's go to small and just go to that river between hills. If we go and place that one through there, we end up with heights leading down into a river valley. So if we started off in through there and just go, yep, that's going to be my actual starting point. Just go to next. In this case, this is what we're seeing, and so it's randomly generated this one here, where we've got like a bit of a starting location there, starting location there. Now, if I go and update this, it'll then just keep on trying to change. So they both start on the same side of the river there. This only is a 2-player map, by the way, so I can change that up to 4 players. So I can go up to 4 and then update, in which case they all start off in a different location with different flags then sort of showing up. So this is your objectives. Let's go and build a 2-player map. And again, I can sort of generate this to where I like it. Now we've got clear is sort of coming back through. If I just go and add in a little bit of village, maybe sort of like it's just 3 pips of that one, I won't worry about city. I will add some forest in there as well, not too much. A little bit of high vegetation, a little bit of rough. And then if we've got the biome disbursement here, which will then sort of try to separate things a little bit. I'll just keep that where it is. High proximity of buildings, I'll just leave those where they are. Just do an update. And we now end up with a bit more of an interesting map, where we've got one player starting over through here. We've got a forest that leads straight into this other area, another forest over this side. There's not too much forest on the other side of the map, but it is actually still over there. Is there enough? I don't know. Let's just do another update and see if that makes it better. We've got forest there. We've got open areas there. It's probably not the best. I can randomize all of this, by the way, and just sort of see what we end up with. I want it on both sides. That's possibly okay. They both start off in forest. There's a road that leads through. That there gives it a slight advantage back over this other side. So let's just say that's going to be our actual map. So the map generation is quite simple. You can sort of see the balance of what's going to happen through there. Let's just go and we'll just call this one Dazo1 or something. Will be the actual map name that we actually have. And we then go to export. This then exports the map ready for playing, but you do get the option to go in and edit it. So I'll show you the editor with this generated map. Have you finished generating the map and want to move to the map editor? Yes, we do want to move to the map editor. So we'll now load that map into the map editor. And it's got most of the building blocks already there. And so I'm just going to continue. This is setting up Germany and UK as the actual players. I can set things up in through this other side as well. And so this is the map that we had just generated with where we've got like 1 point through there. This is showing the priority of where things will be positioned when we deploy them. So that's the deployment zone in through there. That's the UK player there. We've got the German player back over here again with its various deployment zones around here. So it's done that for us. If we wanted to do that ourselves, I could then go across into flags and deployment. I could then go to deployment, and we then actually have whichever player we want to play as. We've got the priority then comes down like in through there. So you can see the degrees of priority for deployments from that particular location. That's what that actually is referring to. I won't go through in too much detail there. We do actually have flags. Now we do actually have we have a German flag there, for example. We have a UK flag over through here, and then we have to grab this flag. We have to grab that flag. Let's go and let's build another flag back over here somewhere. So let's just go to blank, and just going to position a blank flag right there. Okay, so that just evens out the flags as an example. So I can then start to tweak things that then comes into this as well. So I can just keep on editing other aspects of what we're doing. We've got different buildings. I can just put single buildings in through here. I've got different sorts of fences. I've got objects, like for example the trucks and things can be then positioned around the place. These are just going to be sort of like in the way, essentially. So there's a whole heap of them in here. It's very, very easy to place. Presets are really interesting. So what you've actually got through here is you've got, for example, that's all of them. But if I go into urban, we've got, say, 6-cell city blocks. We've got rural, so 4-cell village, 6-cell village. And if I go and click on that one and just go and place it, say here, it's then just going to place one of these sorts of buildings that we're sort of seeing through that side. Why not? Let's just leave it there. So we can sort of dress the the map up very, very easily with what does actually sort of happen. So there's a whole range of them that have been done through here. You've got different things like village decor as well. So you can sort of just go and place, you know, a bit of stuff around, you know, a few bales of hay, etc. So it's just a nice way of just finishing off the map if you're wanting to. We also even have things like military bases where I can sort of go and do. We've got 20 cell military base. We've got a 16 cell military empty. We've got a first. I'm not sure what that one does. If I just go into here, 16 cells. Let's just go and position it back over here somewhere. That's actually set up a bit more of a base with a bunker in through that other side. I can get rid of that by going down to the bottom one here, click on delete, and just go and click on delete, and it's gone. So again, it's very, very easy to move things around. If I'm wanting to rotate, for example, what we had built in through here, I could go and click on the rotate button. In fact, if I go and click on, if I just get rid of that one for a second. If I now go and click on that, it's going to be rotated from this position, this point in here. I can just go and then click on that way, just to sort of rotate it around whichever way I want it to be. So again, it's very, very simple to use the editor, and it can just finish off the dressing up if you're sort of finding that it's a bit unbalanced. Like if we don't see enough through here, it may be worth getting more foliage. So if we go into, we've got buildings, we've got obstacles. Where's the bits and pieces? That's presets. Oh, terrains back up through here. So if we wanted to, for example, we've got vegetation, but we also then could have forests in through this other side. So we've got these are just coniferous trees, I think. Actually, no, they're temperate trees. So if we just go across, in fact, if we just go in, I can just build a little bit more of a location. Again, the keyboard shortcuts sort of then just work, and this was just going to be sort of placing just a bit of a random collection of forest across that particular bridge. Might as well finish this one off as well. Just get a little bit where we can't quite see through it. Let's just keep it like that. So that just protects the bases from each other, where they can't actually see it. If I'm happy with that one, I can then just go and export the map. So this will be DAS01. I'll just call it that again. Do you want to apply the changes to the old map? Yes, we do. And so we now have a reasonably balanced map, and it was fairly quick to be able to go and do that one just in the editor. So very, very quick and easy to do it. When the workshop comes, there'll be lots and lots of maps, and so I can't wait for that. There's no way to share your maps yet, but that will be coming towards the end of this year, in 2025. Just in case you're watching this in 2026 or some other year in the future. If you're watching it in 2026, then workshop should be here, and there'll be heaps and heaps of maps to download, I would imagine. So we've got those in through there. That's all ready to go. We've got the little access point back out there. This one is a bit more open, not that it really matters that much. And so our random map is essentially ready to go. We could put even more other, like we could put some other locations sort of further afield if we wanted to, but let's not worry about it. So we've exported the map. Let's just go back out of here. We'll just press escape, and we essentially just escape to the main menu again. Go into skirmish mode, and now let's cover skirmish mode, and so we'll just follow straight on. There's our map, DAS01. We go and click on that one through there. We can see that we've got the forest that we've laid out. We've got the forest in through there as well, the different styles, player 1 and player 2. So we can start to chop and change things now. So we're using the map that we generated in through here. I can delete these. These maps come with the game, but I can delete these other types of maps. Now, I'm thinking that over time, as the workshop comes in, they'll need a better way to classify these sort of maps so that we can sort through them, because there will be heaps of them. They seriously will. It's going to be one of these sort of games, because it's so easy to build effective maps in the actual game itself, because again, the combination of the base terrain, the topology, the topography of the actual, probably getting them around the wrong way, but the putting the actual forests in and things like that is super, super easy. Setting them all up is great. It's just a simple way to play the game. So 2 players is the only we'd set up in this particular map. We've got 4 flags essentially on the actual map itself in the middle there that have to be taken over. The width is 19 by 23, which we didn't have any control over, and then so that's the overall sort of size that we actually end up having. So that's the actual one through there. I didn't actually write a description, so I didn't do any of that stuff. Not that it really matters that much. So we've got a player versus the AI. I'll go Germany versus UK. I can switch them around if I'm wanting to. Two different teams. The colours here, I'll just choose red, just so we've got like a difference there between the two. We also then have a bias where we can sort of change essentially what's going to happen with the points that we get in the actual game itself. So by all means, you can use that to also control how well or poorly you do in the game. So you can sort of use that as another modifier to help the AI maybe sort of get a bit of an advantage if you require it. Victory conditions, I would suggest that you, unless you really know what you're expecting to do in an actual map, turn off the time constraint as a bit of a tip. That way you don't have to play with any time limit. Otherwise you've only got up to a maximum of 100, which I think in some maps may not even be enough time. 25 I think is a bit too low anyway, to be honest. I think the default should be 40 or 50, to be honest, to be fair. But the default is 25. So that I turn off time, I don't think it's really worth doing. You have other things, for example, like Conqueror. And so the Conqueror one through here, if I go and click on Conqueror, we're not going to see any real changes through there. That is literally, to play with just Conqueror turned on means you have to destroy all the other forces to win it. In fact, wipe them out is a similar sort of thing. That's going to sort of do the same deal up the top through there. Control the flag is a little bit different. So what this one here does is you'll see it's got victory points. And so the victory points, if you want to play where you're just purely playing aggressively, then control the flag is not going to be that important to you. You may want to turn that one off. But if you are wanting to actually have it where you control terrain and have to sort of keep in control of the terrain, then by all means keep control of the flag on, and then as you get those objectives, it will then slowly accrue over time. And so you can have anywhere between 10 and 200 points in through there. Depending on the number of flags that you have, you'll be wanting to chop and change those as well. Starting Prestige. Prestige is what you use to spend to buy your units. 2,500 is fine. That's not really a problem. Again, if you are playing with the bias, that will then sort of chop and change that a little bit. So, for example, if we make that say 2,000, oops, it's not a real number. Well, it's a real number, but it wasn't a real number in terms of what the game will then go and do. And then the prestige income rate. This is a percentage based on the flags that you control and other factors as well. Let's just make it so that we don't get as much prestige. Let's make it say 50%. That's for the map overall. So everyone gets the 50%. Start off with 2,000. Everyone starts off with that one. Let's go and change ours to say 80%. I don't know if we can change the actual number here. We can only do it there. Let's make it so that we start off with less. So we've got 2,000 points, 50 coming back in. The starting units level is going to be 0. Enable heroes. Yes, I'm going to enable, let's say 2 heroes. This is fun to play with. This actually gives you extra abilities in the game itself. So I would say it's fun to do that. So yeah, put it in if you're wanting to. The HQ cooldown reaction, I'm not sure what this, the HQ cooldown reduction, I'm not sure what that is, to be honest. I'm not sure what that is. That maybe if you take it over, I think. Then we actually have the HQ skills. I would definitely suggest that you play with Rally and Reinforcement. The others are what you'll sort of see as you start to play the other parts of the game. You'll have these available to you. We, for example, had artillery bombardment in the other one as well. Sometimes you'll have air recon. I tend to leave those off and just leave the other two. These can be really, really important when you actually are playing the game. And of course, you can then password protect the game if you wanted to. But that's all it takes to set up a game. And from there, you can sort of then go forward. So if we start the game itself, we then actually have the same stuff that we had when we started the mission, where we actually end up with the challenging or changing the actual customization of the difficulty itself. If I just go and click on OK. I think I've done everything correctly. Yeah, so you can see there we're now only getting 80% of the points that are coming through. So we get less to spend. So that's a good way to very sort of mildly affect the difficulty levels in the game itself. So it can be fairly cool to do it that side. Turns left, infinity, because we're not playing with any sort of anything in through there. The way that skirmish mode works differently to the other one is curated as to what you get, and so it maintains a good balance with the way it sort of does come through. But in skirmish mode, you don't actually have that particular balance. Now we can see there, we're not able to see anything other than literally just these deployment zones in through this other point. We've got 1600 to spend. It's very important that you get the right sort of balance when you're playing this game to be able to then work effectively with the AI. So this is the map that we've just generated very, very quickly. I love this aspect of the game, I've got to say. I really, really love it. So this can also be really helpful to play a skirmish map before you start playing any of the other stuff, just in terms of your understanding of the different types of units and what they do. Because if I go into here, into the acquisition mode, we then actually have different shop filters, and we can then get a really good feel of what all the different units do. Now, it can be overwhelming in terms of looking at the full list. So this is all of the German forces that we can bring back in, but it does it in classifications. And so we can go into infantry and just have a look at the different types of infantry that we have potentially available when we're playing the base game, but we have all of these available to us. And so as you get used to playing the game, you'll start to then think, okay, look, I really need some snipers because I'm going to have some distances. These have a range of 10 as opposed to just the riflemen, and so with the riflemen they've only got a range of 5, so I can sort of see the difference with what they actually then go and do. Machine gunners, for example, have got a range of 6, and they do other sorts of damage in there as well. They do a lot more. They do 60 as opposed to 30, so they do a hell of a lot more damage to what actually is going in through there. We also have all those different skills that we sort of saw there as well in the forces themselves. We've got flamethrowers, anti-tank teams. We've got all sorts of different things. Depending on what's coming up, you'll then need to pick accordingly. So infantry, I find personally a group of snipers is really, really handy for hitting at range against other infantry. So if you're sort of trying to play a little bit defensively, the 230 that they cost is really, really well worth it. The other one I really like to get is the Panzer Grenadiers at 200 points. These are stronger than your standard riflemen. So these have actually got they do a little bit more damage. They don't do anything with the armor piercing, but again, just for controlling territory, these are fantastic. So they've only got a range of 5, similar to the riflemen. You can see they've only got 5 as well, but these just do a little bit more damage in through this other side. They also start off with more morale at the top there, and they actually move further. So these are more your stormtroopers, with what you actually end up having through there as well. With the next one, the recon, these can be really important, but they are very, very weak, so they're going to be destroyed fairly quickly. You sort of need to use them to have a look and then move back out of the way again, but typically on small maps you're not going to really need them all that much. The tank forces, of course, are fantastic, and so you've got a whole range of different sorts of tanks in through here. Now, some of these will be added in with the DLCs, so you won't get all of them. For example, the Panzer IIL is a DLC tank, so this one here has been brought in with the DLC. Again, really, really cheap unit at 255, so a very, very basic type of unit, just to sort of do things. Very, very weak in terms of its actual protection. And then we go right up to the Tiger II, which is their most expensive tank. And this one here has got a massive defensive ability back and through there. Very high profile, but very, very defendable. And so these sorts of units it's typically very hard to destroy these. So these are great as a bit of a backbone to your forces, but you can be overwhelmed. So you have to you really start to only get these when you can afford to get them in terms of what you are controlling. So in this case, I would I definitely aim for having these. The Tiger itself is not quite as good, so it's got less defences. They've both got range 12. They're poor against infantry, but very high against the armour. Like, they're very good armour piercing. Panther in through there as well is worth a fair bit. Again, some of these will actually be infantry tanks, like the Panzer IIIs will be better. Actually, that one's not, but the Panzer IIINs start to do good damage against infantry. Pretty much the short barrel ones will tend to be good. There's a Panzer IV, again, good against armor piercing. Panzer IIIF. This is a flame tank. I think it's a flame tank. Yep, flame attack. And so this is great against infantry, but not very good against armor piercing. And so it's a real balance with the actual way the game actually sort of performs with these. The assault guns are much more against, again, going to be used with the infantry, not so much against armor piercing. These have got a non-rotating turret with the actual these sort of styles. So these are not like your tank forces, which will have the rotating turrets. So again, just choosing the difference with what you end up having there can be important. Self-propelled guns, these are more your artillery. Again, you've got like a heap of them. Some of these as well, the Jagdpanzer 4 is one that's just come through with DLC. So this is coming, I think, in the coming DLC, this particular one. And this again is a non-rotating turret. But these ones, what you're looking for here is the bombardment ability, and this one is great against armor piercing. So some of these will be great as armor piercing at like anti-tank forces, very, very cheap with what they can then go and do, whereas others will be more like this one here, the Panzerwerfer, which is also coming in the coming DLC. So you can sort of grab this one through here, which has got a bombardment ability, but only a range of 10. So it's a low range bombardment ability that does better damage against with high explosive against infantry. So that's more of an anti-infantry type weapon. Now we also have other abilities in through here as well. I'll show you that in just a second. But as I said before, the one thing I find really overpowered in the game are these 150mm in through this other side with their bombardment at range 20. This is dramatic with what these can do, and a very, very high accuracy. I don't know how they're going to fix the issue of just how overpowered these will end up being, or these can be. These are really, really powerful. Now, to get these sorts of units, let's just go through what we can do. These can't move on their own. They've got a movement of 0, so they can't be. They have to be transported. Let's talk a little bit about transporting. If I go and grab one of these, I'll just get one so you can see what actually happens through here. If I acquire that, it then goes across into this other side, but I can still deploy it. I just can't move it. Now, on a small map, it's actually pretty good. That's going to at least get to the river. But if I go across into click to buy, I can then start to use trucks to move them around. This opens up a whole other area back in through here. The transports also cost a fair bit. Now, they cost 60 to just get an Opel truck, which is just basically drag it around. It's just got a soft defense and armor of 10. So it's actually very, very easy to kill these. So you don't want them exposed. We can then start to get the tracked vehicles, like these will still be able to drag things around. So we have these two different sides in through here with their different machine guns. They're going to have, where is it? These ones do actually have a bombardment. These ones don't. So these ones can have a bombardment at range 9. But they do 60 damage. They're still not too bad. They've got like little mortars, I think, in the back of them. But they're still a transport vehicle. And then we have the... so I can actually acquire that. And then finally we have this one through here, which has got rockets on the side. And this one's also a rocket barrage. This is a long-range attack, ignoring lines of fire limitations at range 8. So we have sort of pseudo artillery here as well. So I can actually grab, for example, this one here, which is with the bombardment at range 9. It's useful. It's very, very useful, and does not really great damage against armor, but it does do good damage against infantry. So if I grab that one at 275 and acquire it and deploy it, that is now that gun is now on board here, and I have to wait for my turn before I can do anything. I've still got 655 to spend. Let's just go back. Infantry really is super important to get. And in this case, I'd probably just go and get some Panzer Grenadiers. I could get, acquire 2 of those, or even one of those, a sniper, and I've got 220 left to spend. I'll just go and get a rifleman as well, but I won't bring any more vehicles in. We'll just acquire those, deploy, and then they get positioned in around our forces. And you saw them when we were designing the map. What's most important, where we end up placing them. So I could always have that number 1 is there, for example, in my deployment zone around where we actually are. And so that's all I can really do for my turn here. I'll just go and end my turn.
Now,
right, so now they're also going to be beginning and coming back through this other side. Now what I don't want to have is I don't want my artillery to be exposed where I can then go and get a, where it can actually sort of be really targeted, but I want to be within 20 and protected within 20. So this position here is actually pretty good for artillery, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I'm actually within range of everything if I can see it. And so I'm going to position this one here.
Ready to deliver
So all I
our
need to do
troops.
is just go and drive over near it.
Heading out.
I'm not suggesting that you do this on turn one. You're better off getting vehicles that can get across to here. We're then going to offload that artillery, and it's now ready to go. I'm just going to go and position this one.
Artillery waiting for orders.
And so it's now ready to fire, and you can see there, that's its firing range. That's why these are just too much in the game, in my opinion. There has to be some way of actually nerfing these, or at least limiting them, because these are debilitating once units start to see them.
What are our targets,
So we can
sir?
move our sniper down, who will then be able to get vision. So let's just move the sniper through to here.
Let's hunt.
And it ultimately could even be used as a spotter, like if it can move into this position to spot what's going on.
Riflemen.
There's just a
reporting.
rifleman. We're going to move them across to start to get them through as well. And then we actually have the Panzer Grenadiers. It's sort of funny having the British forces, the
Grenadiers
British
reporting.
names. I'll just move that one across into there as well.
Move.
And you can see there that we're picking up a little bit of extra prestige now to be able to spend even more. But let's wait until we can start to get some tanks, because we don't actually have any real anti-armour except for the artillery of all things.
Waiting to rain
This one
down
does
hell.
50 damage, which is actually very, very high. So if we then just end our turn, it's nice and fast, this
Now
this
we
mode.
begin.
And so you build up and build up and build up with your forces. So we've got vision down through here. We're seeing that the British have now taken this, but we can't see what's actually happened there. Let's
Grenadiers
just move
awaiting
across
orders.
with these so we can see if we can spot.
Repositioning as ordered.
Enemy position located.
Okay, now we haven't worked out what they are. There's two units there that we can't spot what they are. If we use this
targets
unit,
for
there's a
us.
chance we'll actually be able to identify it.
Snipers moving.
Still haven't been able to identify it. We'll move this one across
What
into that
orders,
position.
sir? March.
We've seized a key point.
And what I will do is we've got now 395, so we're starting to now pick up extra. We'll pick up extra loot from that particular one. Now I want to keep on moving, but I've got to be careful what actually happens back there. So I'm just going to keep on staying on top of the hill.
Onwards.
These don't have a facing; they don't have to worry about it. So we don't have to worry about the riflemen. Now with the artillery, this is just where these
Artillery
become
ready.
crazy with what they can then go and do. So we don't really know what sort of damage we're going to do, because these are currently unknown. I'm guessing that that's going to be some sort of scout vehicle. So let's go and attack this. And so we're hitting it from bombardment.
Recheck target coordinates.
We missed with both of them.
No more
But-
misses. Reload.
As I start to get more and more of these forces, we end up with a really powerful, extremely long range attack. And for me, it breaks the game a little bit, and I sort of almost, I never do it, but I always think I really should give myself a house rule of not employing these artillery, because it's the AI doesn't use them effectively, and in fact if they did, all it would be is everyone just getting into a position where you can spot what goes on and then just move through. It's just let's end our turn there. Here we are seeing now an armoured car, so one of their scout vehicles. Now we have Overwatch, and we did fire at it, which I should have probably stopped them. Oh, we got 3 hits on that one. That was actually infantry that moved into that position. They've seen us, and they did 1 graze there. And another one there. So 2 pips have gone from that particular
Now
location,
we
that
begin.
particular group. So they're moving across. We've now got 635, and again, I could still keep on just waiting. They've now taken this other one. The AI, by the way, if you've played this game even a few months ago, the AI is heaps better than what it used to be. The AI used to go and protect itself and pick up as much as it possibly could back in its home territories before it moved off. It would often not move for pretty much the whole game. But that has completely changed now, and the AI really does put up a good fight. So just be if you've played it some time ago, be ready for a bit of a shock. It really is it dramatically different and dramatically better with what it does do. Now our snipers, we do have a range in through here, so we can actually go and do this one. 100% chance of actually hitting this. I do like having the C. The C key will then give you the detail. It just sometimes can give you little tips as to why certain things are happening. We do have we've got a hit through there. I don't really have a hit through that side, so let's just go across with our snipers. Let's wipe them out, and so we've still got reaction shots.
Now, let's keep hunting.
With these,
Artillery waiting for
we
orders.
do actually have this armoured car here. Now there's a 70% chance we're going to do between 1 and 3, and I've got 2 shots, so I could possibly even wipe that out. There's an 80% chance of doing 1 to 2, but this has got 5 pips, so I'm not going to be able to get that one. Let's go and take this one out if we can.
Just a
Yeah,
warm-up.
only there's 76% now. And if I press C, we're getting consecutive shots is now giving us a bit more of a bonus. And there we go. We happened to get a good shot and destroyed it. And so that's now a whole lot of points that they no longer have. And this game is very much a game of attrition when you are playing the skirmish mode, just trying to maintain that attrition. I'm going to stay where I am in here. With this particular
What are your
unit.
orders, sir?
You can see there that if I move to there, they're going to be firing at me. If I move to there, they're going to be firing at me. Now,
Soldiers,
anywhere I
form up.
move here, they'll be firing at me as well. So I'm thinking I could move back. I don't know what else there actually is there. So we can only sort of do this from what we've actually seen. So if I move across to this farmhouse,
Moving out.
now we've taken damage there, and I can still move.
Rifleman reporting. March.
Let's just go. So we're now in that location. This is where reinforcements, do we want to spend this on something that's worth like 150 points, or do we wait until we've got something else? We've got 2-turn cooldown to actually be able to use that one again. So if I go into this one here and go and click on it, hang on, right click on it. Everything is right click.
Reinforcements
The crew has been
arrive.
reinforced, so it's now back to full strength. I've just got to try to make sure that we don't worry too much about this one through here. And that's just sort of like more the mode of playing. It's really cool to be able to play random maps like this and random games. It's very, very nicely done. So anyway, I think I'll probably sort of leave it here. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I really should talk about. But it's a beautiful little game, actually. There's a top down. If you sort of scroll all the way out, you can sort of get a bit more of a feel. Again, you can just turn off those grids on or off. You will be able to pick the grid anyway. Sometimes the like understanding what the terrain does, like this sort of heavy terrain. This is high vegetation, gives 40 cover for infantry. These can be really critical for positioning of your forces. You can see there that we're actually inside this building, which gives me a cover of 60. Same in through here as well. So these are actually well presented to ambush anything that comes across these bridges. And so now it becomes, as I said before, a exercise in attrition, where we start to just slowly whittle things away with our, in this case, with the artillery, which I do have to give myself a house rule of not using them. But I always hope that at some point that will be one of the things that gets addressed in the rebalancing of the game, because they're just so powerful. So if you are wanting an easy-ish fight, just get yourself a few of those. You'll be able to really dominate at almost any range on these small maps. As you can see there, it's just crazy. Whereas it's much more interesting having, like, these are long range, for example. They do extend across, and so if that one does move down, I'm then going to have a shot next turn. I've still got one more reaction shot. In fact, let's just end our turn here. Will we move forward? That is, we can't hit that one. That's coming across that first little bridge. Oh, sorry, that's coming across that bridge. Now the sniper will have a shot.
Now we
And we're
begin.
back in there again. And so these guys, they've actually brought in this particular group of scouts. So they've got scouts that can sort of see ahead. Actually, scouts is another thing that you really want to have, just so you can identify things at range. This one has come across the coming across the bridge, so we now actually have a bit of a problem with this because we don't really have any anti-tank, but we now have a heap of points. So what we could do is go back into our deployment, and I could go and get myself like either an anti-tank tank, like one of the Tigers. I can certainly afford that. That would absolutely dominate, but at that sort of points, it's probably a bit of overkill. The Panzer 2L, not really good enough. The Panzer 4 at 380 is actually good enough. That would actually do a good job there. So I might even, it's a medium-sized tank. I've got the Panther there as well, which does a lot more damage. But I'm thinking that would be enough for what we need. So let's just go and acquire that. And so that's going to cost, it can't be transported, so we don't get the other one. The other thing I might just go and get at this point in time would be even more infantry. Getting the scouts is fairly important. So I'll acquire those, and I've still got 290, so I might get myself even another group of, well, even anti-tank. An anti-tank team would actually be fairly useful. I can just afford it. So if I then deploy those, they then just get deployed again in accordance with what we have. We can't use that just yet. I can rotate it, just so at least it's facing the right way. This one here,
Armored transport
I don't have. Actually, I do have the range here, 90% chance, but we're not going to do enough damage to affect that. But this one here would.
Waiting to rain down hell.
82% chance with a chance to start to do some damage. And again, it's got no real way of attacking me back with those artillery. There we go. It's down to just 2 now. Now, we're no longer hidden. There's like a little, see that little eye symbol? That means we haven't been seen. And so we have been seen there. They will attack these. I'm going to leave that where that is. The scout units are probably the ones that have done the job there. I'm going to go and attack this. And it's sort of, it's low. Yeah, we missed there.
Unacceptable marksmanship.
Yeah, we've got another 2 of them.
A hit.
But we have been spotted. It's a great little game, this one. I've spent a lot of time just really doing a bit of a deep dive, I guess, into what the game actually does have. And as I say, I love this skirmish mode. It's just awesome. Endless replayability, really. I mean, I guess the style of play is always going to be the same, so it's not super. It's not as if it's completely different gameplay that you play all the time, but it really does have a lot going for it in terms of every random map is its own puzzle anyway, trying to sort of figure out where you need to be positioned to be able to make best use of these points, because these points will then give you what you need in terms of the victory points. So we've got victory points of 6 at this point in time. We control one of 2 HQs. If we take the HQ, we win that way. And we've got to kill the enemy. There's a lot more enemy around here, but we have to kill all of the enemy to get that particular one. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, guys. So Headquarters World War II, great game. As I said before, this is actually going to be out during the actual release of the DLC. I'm going to probably time it for the same day, I think, when this one does come out. But I am playing a pre-release version of the game, so just be aware of that. That's why we're seeing those little bugs with the abilities. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be, but there is something that's supposed to be with all of those different soldiers, with some other aspect of what they actually get to do. A lot to like about this. Very quick and easy to pick up and play. Very, very easy to get an instinctive understanding of how to play it. And a lot of complexity and depth if you are wanting to really master it. So there's a lot to love about this particular game. I really, I'm just trying to think of if there's anything else that I've actually missed that makes this game so special. But I think by covering it in such a deep way in terms of all the different bits and pieces within the user interface, you can see there that this cooldown is now coming back up. We've got one more turn before we can then go and, like, even if we lose forces over through here, for example, with this unit, we're going to be able to replenish them as long as they survive. And so, it really comes down to the attrition that you can then dish out with your different forces. In fact, this one here, what is that one? This one is mainly an anti-tank. So this is a Sherman Firefly Tulip. This is not really great against infantry anyway. We've got another unknown tank over through here. No idea what that one actually is. Great game. Anyway, I'll leave it there, guys. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe if you like this sort of content. I'll catch you next time. I completely forgot to go through the roadmap, so we'll just finish it off with a read through the roadmap. I love when devs do this, I've got to say. There's not enough developers actually show you what their plans are. I should also point out that I personally don't mind if devs decide that there's something else more important after they release a roadmap. It shouldn't be something that's set in stone. It should be just a vague direction that they're looking to head. I'm thinking of there's a lot of games actually adhere to the roadmap no matter what, to the detriment of the game. And other developers actually will look at a roadmap, use it as their basic direction they want it to head, but then will deviate off to do fixes where it's required, which that's my preferred model with roadmaps. So I never sort of treat it as this has to be done by a certain time. This is, for me, it's more of this is the direction we want to head, which is great. I'm really excited about what we can see through here. So this year is packed with new updates. Remember, the game hasn't been out even a year yet, so it's still sort of, we're still in year one. And so with new updates, DLC, some features we think you'll love. Here's a breakdown of what's coming up throughout the year. So we end up having a series of different things. Early 2025, which is essentially right now. So at the time you're looking at this one, we've already got a free update with AI improvements and balance changes, and that has been very, very good. Except for those long-range artillery. They're the only thing that needs a bit of work, I think. Hopefully it won't be too long for that to be sorted out one way or another. Big paid content with the Ardennes DLC coming through there. And we've covered that in this episode, so you can just see what's coming on. And again, I could just read through these, I guess, and maybe that will give you a bit more of an information. So we'll kick things off with a free update that focuses on improving the AI, and it really has. It's really made them fight much more aggressively and with much more purpose when you do play against the AI now in recent weeks. This update addresses the AI's behaviour in skirmish, particularly its unit purchase algorithm. It's the first step in a series of AI improvements that will be rolled out throughout the year. Alongside these AI changes, we'll be making important balance adjustments. Expect tweaks to unit costs and other parameters to refine the overall gameplay experience. Additionally, we've been bringing out in 1 week our first major, well, at this time, and it's right now, our first major paid content of the year with the Ardennes DLC. This DLC will let you relive the dramatic moments of the Battle of the Bulge, but with a twist. You get to play both sides of the conflict. So this is the previous DLC was purely from the British side. It's a narrative-driven experience that shifts perspectives, giving you a deeper look into this pivotal moment in history. So yeah, a lot of content with that DLC. Spring, as we approach spring, we'll be gearing up to celebrate Headquarters World War II upcoming 1-year anniversary. So that's in April, is when that actually will be. It's hard to believe the launch is almost a year behind us, and we've got some exciting surprises in store to mark the occasion. I've got no idea what these surprises actually are, by the way. We'll also be rolling out another free update that builds on the previous AI improvements, adding further refinements and bug fixes to ensure smoother gameplay. I'd expect the bug fixes to be just part of what they're doing. I think what they're trying to sort of say there is that there's a commitment to keep development going. What I've seen them say in the past is for a fair number of years. So they're not looking at this as something that they roll out and then forget about and move on to something else. I think they want this to continue on. And I think that the engine itself is so good. I'm hoping that they sort of extend out into, for example, North Africa and do like a version that deals with the war in the desert, in the Western Desert, with the Eastern Front as well. I think there's a lot of scope here. Even like the parameters around the game, like one of the troubles with these sorts of games is when you've got too many years and you have to then start to try to filter out what forces are available. I don't know how they handle that, but anyway, I'm rambling. Let's not ramble. We'll just go back to this one through here. So spring, 1-year anniversary celebration. Looking forward to seeing what that will actually be. So we've only got a couple of months to wait for that one. And free update, new AI improvements in through there. And we're going to see that as fairly consistent all the way through. And again, they've probably got a plan of what they want to do with that. I've got no idea what that actually is. In the summer, we'll be releasing a smaller, wallet-friendly DLC. So it's smaller than the current one. I'm thinking it must be units. And that's all I can really think of. Or maybe some more enhancements to skirmish mode. That, for me, would be absolutely brilliant. I would love it. I would love it. You know, different types of ways of having maps or different things happening that way would be fantastic. While it won't be as large as Market Garden or Ardennes, it will offer fresh content that is sure to be an exciting addition for players looking for something new. Sounds exciting. So alongside this, we'll also release another free update focused on gameplay and balance changes, ensuring everything continues to run smoothly and providing more fine-tuned adjustments based on your feedback. So this is great. This is why giving feedbacks to devs, constructive feedback, I think is critical. So, and I find that, like devs with these sorts of games really, really appreciate that sort of feedback as well, because it helps their games. Just don't expect that it's a right of yours to demand changes, because that's just, that's not the way it works. But certainly if you do actually have constructive feedback and structure things, these sort of devs really do listen to it. And if it can be implemented, and I think it's worthwhile. And quite often, like I know that I often give feedback on things. I have even in this video. Quite often, I find that the feedback I give just isn't where the dev wants to go, and quite often I'm completely wrong about what should happen. I can think of all sorts of different games where I've actually done that, and the dev just said, "No, it's not really the direction we want to head." And then about a month later, I think, "Yeah, you made the right decision." But anyway, that's just the way it goes. But I do know that often people will be really, really emotionally attached to the feedback that they give. But yeah, it's up to the devs as to what they do. But they are receptive, and that's the important thing there. There is actually a Discord server if you are wanting to sort of have more contact with devs, with the devs that are working on these sorts of games, and that's often a good way to actually help with testing and development of these sorts of games as well. Anyway, so summer. So we don't know what that's going to be. So free update, gameplay and balance changes, and a small paid content through there. I'm really hoping it's more skirmish mode sort of stuff. I think that would be really awesome. I'm thinking that must be in preparation for the Steam workshops coming in winter. Free updates, so new AI improvements and further fixes back in through there. I think they're just putting that in every single time now. It's because they, sort of expected. But Steam Workshop, that's going to be major. That's going to be really, really big. And I'm thinking that they must have to make sure that the base game is pretty much complete, in terms of all the different things that's going to be in there. That's why I'm sort of hoping it's just something to do with map generation and map content, because it would then make more sense to have Steam Workshop follow that than rather than bring it in earlier. I can sort of see that working that sort of way personally. Let's just read what it says. To wrap up the year, we've got something huge planned, Steam Workshop support. That is huge for this game. You saw how easy it was to build a map. And I hope it just doesn't end up with random maps in there, of course, but some really good curated maps could be really, really cool. And particularly if they sort of then offer different things, like where people can put together map packs and even favourites and stuff like this, so that people can then download the favourites of different people who play the game. I think that would be ideal. And of course, you can do that through the collections in Workshop itself. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm also hoping that then sort of does open up things like you saw that I attempted to put my own little icon, a little ping file in there. I thought that was going to be nice and simple, because I was testing that to see if when they do open up Workshop, will they open it up so we can actually start to add insignia as well, which I think would be really, really cool. I don't know, that's not a mod that I built. I just was crashing into the base game files and saw it shows up in the game, but I didn't realise it wouldn't actually work. So anyway, that's just the way it works. This highly anticipated feature will allow you to share and download community-created maps for both skirmish and multiplayer modes. It's going to open up a whole new world of content and creativity. We're excited to see what you'll all come up with. So additionally, we're releasing a final free update of the year, to include the latest round of AI improvements and other fixes to wrap up 2025 on a high note. I've got to say, from when the game launched a year ago to where the AI is now is dramatically different and dramatically positive. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where this. I enjoyed the game when it first came out, but I'm really, really appreciating now the skirmish, just how well the AI plays in skirmish mode. So anyway, that's where we are with the roadmap. I did want to finish off with that because that's fairly exciting, actually. Particularly Steam Workshop, but also the other things coming with the actual game itself. Anyway, guys, if you sort of like what you see with the game, then Headquarters World War II, definitely grab it. Even if you just grab the base game, you can certainly play all the skirmish sort of stuff. You won't have all of the equipment to play in skirmish, but you still get to play with all the basic things. You'll sort of figure out whether you like the game or not. And then, of course, you've got the much more difficult puzzle type experience playing the campaigns through there with the curated maps. Thanks for watching yet again, and I'll catch you next time. As I said before, I really do enjoy this game. It's one of these games that I think is got a beer and pretzels approach, but with a finesse around it that allows you to sort of play with a lot of nuance and a lot of skill as you sort of get better and better, understanding how the game actually functions, which is fantastic. It's best of both worlds for me.